I didn't grow up dreaming of delivering pizza. No one does. But when you're 16 and stuck in a dead-end suburb like Brookside, a half-forgotten town about 15 miles from the edge of Riverdale City, your options are pretty limited. Especially when your dad's out of the picture, your mom's working double shifts at the clinic, and you're desperate for wheels that don't belong to someone else. I wanted a car more than anything. Freedom, privacy, a way out. So when Kyle, my buddy from school, told me the Pizza Hut near the gas station was hiring, I showed up the next day wearing a borrowed collared shirt and shoes I hadn't worn since church camp. Kyle worked in the back as a cook and put in a word for me. I figured I'd end up folding boxes or wiping tables. Easy enough. It started off that way. Slow, boring shifts. Sweeping under booths, stacking chairs, restocking the napkin holders. I'd stand at the front counter watching headlights crawl by, wondering what my life would look like if I lived 2 towns over. The kitchen crew was all right. Goofballs mostly. Always cracking dumb jokes, sneaking me breadsticks, handing over extra marinara like it was some kind of prison deal. It felt weirdly good, like I belonged. But nothing stays simple in Brookside. 2 months in, the quiet routine started to crack. One evening I was refilling the soda machine when Mr. Clark, the store manager, called me over. He always had a ratty notebook with him, the kind with duct tape over the spine, and he scribbled in it like he was writing a memoir no one would ever read. "Liam," he muttered, still writing. "Jason's off again, tooth or tire, whatever the hell it is this time. I need you to run delivery tonight." I hesitated. "Delivery? Me?" He finally looked up. "You've got a license, right?" "Yeah," I said. "Just, I haven't done it before." "You'll learn fast. Most people just want their food and to be left alone. You get tips. That's gas money, car money." I thought about it. Delivery meant cash. Cash meant getting closer to that beat-up Civic I'd been eyeing on Facebook Marketplace. "Sure, I'm down." He handed me the delivery slip and went back to writing like I wasn't even there. The first few runs were easy. Neighborhoods I knew. Friendly people. One lady even gave me a $5 bill and told me I had a nice smile. I was starting to like the gig. Even started joking around with Kyle about getting my own delivery route. But then Jason came back. And things got weird. It was a Thursday night, slow as hell right before closing. I was wiping down the front counter when the back door slammed open. Jason stumbled in, his face pale and sweaty like he'd just outrun something. His eyes were bloodshot, darting like a cornered animal's. He didn't say a word to me, just brushed past and stormed into Mr. Clark's office, the door swinging half shut behind him. I tried not to listen, but voices carry in a dead restaurant. "I'm done," Jason hissed. "I'm not going back out there, man. I told you, it's not worth it." 15 minutes later, he stomped out, ripped his name tag off, and hurled his cap across the counter. Before walking out the door, he looked at me, eyes like pits. "Good luck, kid," he said, slapping my back harder than necessary. Then he was gone. For good. After that, I was the default delivery guy. Every shift. No questions asked. Most nights were fine. Boring even. Some folks were weird. A guy who tipped me with Canadian coins. A woman who asked if I could bring her expired coupons next time. But nothing dangerous. Until that one night. The kind of night that changes something in you. Makes you see the world just a little different. It was late August. One of those thick, sticky summer nights when the air feels like wet cloth. The rain had stopped an hour before, but everything was still dripping, and the pavement shimmered under the streetlights like it was sweating. Mr. Clark handed me a slip right as I was about to clock out. "Last one," he said. "Then you're free." I glanced at the address. 143 Hawthorne Street. I'd never heard of it. "Where's this?" I asked. "Out near the old fields, past the hardware store. Take that left at the gas station with the busted sign." "That's pretty far, isn't it?" He shrugged. "Prepaid. Just drop and go." That phrase, "just drop and go," would stick with me. I loaded the pizza into the hot bag and punched the address into my phone. The route wound through the edge of town, where the streets get narrow and the houses start looking like half-finished sketches. The sun was a smear of orange fading into gray by the time I turned off onto Hawthorne. No streetlights, no sounds, just my headlights carving tunnels through the dark. The road narrowed. Trees leaned in overhead like they wanted to whisper something. I passed rusted mailboxes, cracked driveways, and yards so overgrown they looked like no one had touched them in years. When I finally pulled up to 143, I almost missed it. The street sign was twisted, and the house sat so far back it was barely visible until I was practically in the driveway. 2-story, sagging porch, paint peeling off in sheets. One window was cracked all the way down the middle, spiderwebbing out from a center point like it had been punched. No lights, no cars, no motion. I left the engine running. "Just drop and go," I muttered. I grabbed the pizza bag and stepped out, shoes crunching on gravel. The air smelled like mildew and old rain. The porch groaned under my weight as I stepped up. A busted wind chime clinked somewhere overhead. I knocked. Firm, polite. Nothing. I shifted the bag in my hands. Waited. Just as I was about to set the box down and bail, I heard a soft click. The door opened a sliver. A woman stood there, or what was left of one. She was small, frail, gray hair tangled in knots, skin like crepe paper stretched over her skull. Her nightgown was stained yellow and brown, loose and hanging off her frame like it had been soaked and wrung out. Bare feet, toenails like claws. But her eyes, that's what froze me. Wide. Too wide. The kind of wide that says something's not right behind them. Like she was watching something standing directly behind me. "Pepperoni pizza," I said, forcing a smile. She didn't blink, didn't speak. "It's prepaid," I added, holding out the box. Still nothing. Just that stare. Then she whispered, "You came alone?" I blinked. "Yeah, just me." She frowned. Her eyes darted past me, scanning the dark, like she was searching for someone who didn't show. Then she muttered something. Just 2 words. "Last one." I didn't ask. Didn't want to know. I just held out the pizza like a peace offering. That's when her hand slipped into the folds of her nightgown, digging. My brain screamed, "Wallet, right? Wallet." But she kept reaching, and reaching. Her fingers twitched like she was fumbling with something deeper than fabric. I backed up. "Okay, well, have a good night." I crouched, set the box down gently on the porch and turned. A crunch. Leaves. Footsteps. Someone to my left. I whipped around, adrenaline slamming through me like a wave. A man stood just off the steps, tall, wide shoulders, greasy hair hanging over his face, clothes filthy, wet in places, no shoes. His teeth showed in a slow, spreading grin. "Hey, boy," he slurred. I froze. Every instinct in me screamed, "Move." The woman hadn't moved. She just stood there, one hand still buried in her gown, still watching me like I was already done. The man stepped closer. I ran. Didn't think. Didn't breathe. Just bolted for the car, keys already in my hand, bag still over my shoulder. I could hear him moving behind me, feet slapping the gravel. I slammed into the driver's side, yanked the door open and dove in. Locked it. Started the engine with shaking hands. The man kept coming. I reversed hard, wheels spinning on the wet road, gravel spraying like bullets. Nearly clipped a mailbox on the way out. I didn't look back. Not once. Back at the restaurant, I lied. Told Mr. Clark no one answered. Said I left it on the porch. Paid for it out of my own pocket. $22. Worth every cent to not explain what I saw. 2 days later, Mr. Clark called my house. He never did that before. "Liam," he said, "you told me something weird happened at that house, right?" "Yeah," I said slowly. "Why?" "I had the cops check it out. Something felt off. That house, it's been empty, foreclosed. No power, no water. Should have been abandoned." I didn't say anything. They found squatters, 3 of them, 2 guys, 1 old woman, arrested them for trespassing, outstanding warrants. Still, I said nothing, just sat on the couch, staring at the wall, my mind flashing back to her eyes, his grin, the movement, the hand still digging. What had she been reaching for? A knife? A gun? What if I'd waited just a few seconds longer? What if I hadn't run? Would I even be here? I quit Pizza Hut that week. No 2 weeks, no goodbyes, just gone. Took a job stocking shelves at the 24-hour market on Route 7. Bright lights, security cameras, people around, safe, mostly. Still, some nights when I drive past old houses or fields that stretch out too far in the dark, I catch myself watching the tree line. Just in case, because some people don't want pizza. They want something else entirely, and sometimes they wait for the last one. If someone had knocked on that door after me, would they have made it back? I've always believed your first job leaves a mark, not just on your resume or your bank account, but somewhere deeper, somewhere under the skin. For most people, it's something harmless, scooping ice cream, bagging groceries, maybe bussing tables at a family diner. For me, it was pizza delivery, and it left a scar that still burns a little when I drive past porches with no lights on. I was 16 when I started working at the Pizza Hut in Brookside, a quiet suburb 15 miles outside Riverdale City, a town where nothing happened unless it was whispered, where cracked sidewalks and broken porch lights told stories no one dared say out loud. I didn't take the job because I loved pizza. I took it because I needed a car. I was tired of borrowing my mom's Civic and tired of missing out because I couldn't get anywhere. Brookside felt like a town stuck in molasses. Even the weather moved slow. The air always seemed a little too still, like the town itself was holding its breath. People were polite but distant, as if friendliness was rationed out in teaspoons. It wasn't a bad place exactly, just a place where time folded in on itself, where nothing changed except the names on the mailboxes. Kyle, my best friend from school, worked in the kitchen and got me the job. I started off wiping down booths, stacking chairs, folding boxes. Easy work. Quiet. The kitchen crew treated me like one of their own. They'd sneak me breadsticks during breaks and joke around about quitting every other night. I got used to the routine. I liked the rhythm of the place, the predictable chaos of dinner time, the slow crawl of the final hour. But there was one guy who never joked. Jason, our main delivery driver. Jason was in his 20s, but he looked older, gaunt, eyes sunken, always ringed with shadows like he never slept. He had this 1,000-yard stare, like he'd seen something he couldn't explain. His hands always trembled, just a little. He never talked unless he had to, and when he did, his voice had the tone of someone narrating a nightmare. At first, I didn't think much of it. Maybe he was just weird. Maybe he'd been through stuff. I didn't ask. Most of us didn't. Jason came and went like a ghost. Quiet. Focused. But one night, everything changed. It was a Thursday, late shift, slow night. I was restocking the soda machine when Jason burst in through the back door. Pale, sweating, shaking. He pushed past me like I wasn't there and stormed into Mr. Clark's office. The door didn't close all the way, and I heard fragments of the conversation. "I told you, I'm not going back, I'm done. You send someone else if you want it delivered so bad." Then silence. Then the door opened. Jason stepped out, ripped off his hat, tossed it onto the counter. He looked at me. "Good luck, kid." He slapped my shoulder on the way out. I never saw him again. That night, Mr. Clark didn't say much. He just scribbled in that little black notebook he always carried and told me I'd be covering deliveries until they found a replacement. I agreed, not really thinking twice. Deliveries meant tips. Tips meant car money. The first few deliveries were uneventful. Houses with tired porches and flickering porch lights. Some people tipped well, others barely opened the door. I didn't mind. I liked driving at night. The roads felt different after dark, more honest somehow. Empty streets, headlights slicing through the dark, the low hum of the engine keeping me company. One guy answered the door in a bathrobe with a ferret on his shoulder and tipped me in Canadian coins. Another customer kept asking if I had change for a 20, but never actually gave me the 20. It was weird, but it was nothing I couldn't handle. Most nights were smooth, forgettable. Then came the Saturday night that changed everything. It had rained earlier, one of those sudden summer storms that leaves the air thick and humming. The pavement was still wet, shining under the streetlights like black glass. I was thinking about texting Kyle to hit up Waffle House after work when Mr. Clark handed me a slip. "Last one," he said. "Then you're done for the night." I looked at the address, 143 Hawthorne Street. Never heard of it. "Where is this?" I asked. He didn't look up. "Out by the old cornfields, past the shuttered hardware store. You'll see it." I grabbed the pizza bag, punched the address into my phone, and got into the car. As I drove, the houses grew sparser, the roads darker. The town gave way to fields and scattered trees. No more streetlights, just my headlights and the soft tap of rain still dripping off the trees. Hawthorne Street barely looked like a street, more like a path someone had once paved and then forgotten. The sign was rusted and bent, barely legible. I turned in slowly. Number 143 was all the way at the end. The house stood alone, flanked by overgrown bushes and a lawn that looked like it hadn't been touched in years. 2 stories, collapsing porch, windows smudged with grime. No lights inside, no car out front. I kept the engine running. Just drop and go, I told myself. I got out, the hot bag slung over my shoulder, and walked to the porch. Every step creaked. A broken wind chime tapped softly in the breeze. I knocked once. Nothing. Knocked again. The door creaked open an inch. She stood there, old, frail, skin like wax, hair like steel wool, bare feet, nightgown stained and hanging off her like a curtain. She said nothing. "Pepperoni pizza," I said. "It's prepaid." She didn't blink, didn't move, just stared. Then her lips parted. "You came alone?" I hesitated. "Yeah." She looked past me, eyes scanning the yard. Her voice came again, quieter this time. "Last one." I shifted uncomfortably. "Okay, here you go." She didn't take it. Instead, her hand disappeared into the folds of her gown, searching, digging, fingers twitching like a spider trying to find purchase. My stomach turned. I set the pizza down on the porch and backed up. That's when I heard it. Movement to my left, a crunch of gravel. I spun. A man stood at the edge of the porch, tall, ragged clothes, hair greasy and hanging in his face, no shoes, his teeth bared in a slow grin. "Hey boy," he said, voice wet and thick. I didn't wait. I turned and ran, sprinting to my car, heart pounding in my chest. I could hear him moving behind me. Fast. I nearly dropped my keys, fumbled them into the ignition, yanked the door shut, locked it. He was still coming. I reversed out so fast my tires kicked gravel across the road, sped off without looking back. When I got back, I lied. Told Mr. Clark no one answered. Left the pizza on the porch, paid for it myself. 2 days later, he called my house. That had never happened before. "Liam," he said, "that address you delivered to, did you say something weird happened?" "Yeah, why?" "I had the cops check it out. That house was foreclosed, been empty over a year. No power, no running water." He paused. "They found squatters inside. 2 men, 1 old woman, all arrested. Weapons charges, warrants." I didn't answer. I quit the next day, didn't show up, didn't return calls. Got a job stocking shelves at the 24-hour mart off Route 7. Bright lights, security cameras, people. It felt safer, most of the time. Still, sometimes when I drive past dark houses on the edge of town, I catch myself watching the windows, just for a second, just to be sure they're not watching me. Because some people don't just want pizza, some people wait, and sometimes they're waiting for you. What would have happened if I hadn't run? I used to think delivering pizza was the kind of job where nothing really happens. It wasn't something you dreamed of as a kid, but it paid just enough to keep the lights on, and most nights it was just you, your beat-up car, and a loop of top 40 hits on the local station. A slice of life where the worst thing you expected was cold tips or rude customers. Easy money, no drama, no danger. For 2 straight years, it stayed that way. The job became a kind of routine background noise in my life. Predictable, repetitive. I could clock in, load up, hit the streets of Glenage on autopilot, and clock out. Rinse, repeat. The town itself felt frozen in time. Just a stretch of tired streets stitched between empty farmland and a decaying industrial strip that hadn't seen real business since Reagan. You could drive from one end to the other in 15 minutes without catching a red light. I was 23 back then, still trying to piece myself together after a failed semester at community college. I'd moved back into my dad's basement, though basement might be generous. It was more like an unfinished cellar that smelled faintly of mildew and regret. Dad wasn't around much, mostly stayed out on long hauls trucking cross-state. We barely spoke, and I liked it that way. Less explaining to do. The only real constant in my life was that Pizza Hut just off Route 5. It sat on the edge of Glenage next to a car wash that hadn't worked in years, and across from a liquor store that always had a cop parked nearby. My shifts ran from 5 p.m. to close, usually past midnight. Management was chill. Tina was mid-30s, sharp-tongued but fair, and Eric the cook was always half-stoned and trying to freestyle rap while folding boxes. Thursday nights were quiet. We rarely got slammed unless there was a high school game or one of the factories let out early. I remember that particular Thursday in early November because the rain was coming in soft, more of a mist than a storm, and everything outside looked blurred around the edges. I liked nights like that. Calming. It made the streetlights glow like fireflies through fog. We'd just wrapped the dinner rush. Tina was at the office desk doing end-of-day paperwork, and Eric had his head down on the prep table, mumbling to himself about some conspiracy podcast. I was leaning against the register, scrolling through messages on my phone and sipping flat soda when the POS system dinged. One last order. I sighed. Seriously? Tina looked up. Where to? I pulled the slip from the printer. Lambert Street, number 72. She paused, pen hovering. That by the old warehouses? Just past 'em, I said. Eric snorted from the back. Ooh, spooky Lambert Street, he muttered in a mock ghost voice. Watch out for the boogeyman. Man, shut up, I said, cracking a grin, but I felt it too. That little twist in the gut. Something about that address made me hesitate. I don't know why. It's not like I hadn't been out that way before. Lambert ran parallel to the train tracks, lined with run-down homes and storage sheds, mostly quiet. Creepy, sure, but it was still Glenage. Nothing ever really happened here. Outside, the rain had picked up. Not a downpour, just enough to miss the windshield and make your wipers squeal. I tossed the hot pizza into the seat beside me, shrugged into my jacket, and climbed into my car. My Honda made a tired groan as I turned the key. I muttered encouragement to the dashboard and pulled out of the lot. Glenage always felt different at night. Familiar streets got longer. Shadows stretched in ways that made buildings look unfamiliar. People vanished indoors by 10, and streetlights flickered like they were running on borrowed time. I rolled past the auto shop, past the shuttered grocery store, past rows of sagging houses and empty bus stops. The radio fizzled between songs, picking up half a sermon from a gospel station before fading back into static. By the time I hit Lambert, the town felt like it had emptied itself out. The road was worse than I remembered. Cracked pavement, potholes like landmines, overgrown weeds tangled around rusted mailboxes. Most of the houses looked abandoned, windows boarded, roofs sagging under tarps. One had yellow caution tape curling in the wind like party streamers left too long after a celebration. 72 Lambert stood halfway down the block, hunched behind a rusting chain-link fence. One story. Gray siding. Peeling paint. The kind of house you wouldn't look at twice during the day. No car in the drive. No lights inside. Just a single bulb on the porch sputtering like it was dying in slow motion. I killed the engine, grabbed the pizza box and stepped out into the mist. That's when I saw him. At first I thought it was just a trick of the light, someone's trash can or a shadow cast weird across the driveway. But no. There was a guy standing at the edge of the property. Tall, thin, wearing a hoodie pulled low over his face and jeans so shredded they looked like they'd been dragged across gravel. He didn't move. Didn't say anything. I cleared my throat. "Hey, got your pizza?" Nothing. He just stood there, watching. A weird chill slid down my spine. I wasn't scared exactly, just unsettled. Like something in the air had shifted and I was the only one who noticed. "It's 2375, I said, trying to sound casual, holding the pizza out like maybe it could act as a shield. He stepped forward slowly, and the porch light caught his face just enough to see his mouth curled in this half smile. Twitchy, not quite right. His hand came out of his pocket holding a crumpled wad of coins. He started counting them into my hand. 1, 2, 3. The metal was damp, freezing. His fingers brushed mine and it felt like he'd just pulled them out of a bucket of ice water. I forced a smile. "Cool, thanks man, have a good one." I turned to leave. Then he spoke. "You drive fast." His voice was low, even, not angry, not mocking, almost disappointed. I froze. Yeah, I said with a nervous laugh looking over my shoulder. "Guess I got a lead foot." He tilted his head, smile stretching wider. "You shouldn't." Something about the way he said it made my stomach knot. I turned back to my car, this time moving a little faster. My boots crunched over the wet gravel. I got in, slammed the door, started the engine. In the rear view, he was still standing there, still holding the pizza, still smiling. He hadn't moved. I drove off, glancing in the mirror until the house vanished into the fog. By the time I reached Main Street, I'd half convinced myself it was nothing. Just a weird dude, maybe high, maybe off his meds. You get those sometimes, people who don't really belong anywhere, ghosts of towns like Glenage. But when I turned onto Pine Avenue, I caught a glimpse of something in the rear view that made my heart seize. A figure. Same hoodie, same gait, same slow, steady walk. Miles from Lambert. He was just there. I blinked, rubbed my eyes, looked again. Nothing. I kept driving, didn't stop, didn't even slow down when I pulled into the Pizza Hut lot. The place was dark. No lights, no sign of Tina or Eric. The neon window sign that always buzzed even when turned off was dead. I pulled into a space near the door and sat there, hands on the wheel, trying to steady my breathing. Then my phone buzzed. I flinched, smacked my elbow on the steering column. The screen lit up. Unknown number. Drive safe. I stared at it for a long time. Cold panic bled into my chest, inch by inch. Slowly, I looked up toward the street. He was there, across the road under a broken streetlight that flickered like it was gasping for life. Just standing. Same smile, same stillness, like he'd never left. I didn't think. I just acted. Jammed the key, threw the car in reverse, peeled out of the lot like hell was behind me. I didn't look back. Didn't stop until I was home, doors locked, blinds drawn. I sat on the couch with every light in the apartment on, staring at the door like I expected it to creak open any minute. I didn't sleep. Every creak in the pipes, every rustle outside made my heart spike. And I kept checking my phone. No new messages. But I knew. I knew he was out there, waiting. I never went back to Pizza Hut. Called Tina the next morning and quit before she could ask anything. Months have passed. I got a new job in the city, moved into a place with better locks, tried to forget, but sometimes when it rains, I see him again. In my mind, standing under a flickering light, holding a soggy pizza like he's still waiting for something, waiting for me to come back. And I can't help but wonder, what would have happened if I hadn't left? What do you think he really wanted? I never thought danger would knock in the middle of a pizza run. When I was a kid, I thought horror lived in forests, in abandoned places, in crumbling houses with peeling paint and creaking floors. Places you had to seek out, places that warned you before you even stepped foot inside. But no one warns you about cul-de-sacs. No one ever tells you to be afraid of well-trimmed hedges or neatly numbered mailboxes. Maybe that's why it caught me so off guard. My name's Samantha Clark. Most people call me Sam. I'm 20, a criminal justice major at Redfield Community College. 2 semesters deep and already drowning in textbooks I couldn't afford. So I picked up a job at Pizza Haven. Part-time, nights only. Just enough to help with tuition, groceries, and the occasional night out when my sanity needed it. Pizza Haven 312 was this tiny spot crammed into the far corner of a tired strip mall off Willow Bend Avenue. I can still smell the dough, the endless rush of melted cheese and burnt crusts and garlic knots. I liked it well enough. The crew was decent. Lisa, our shift manager, didn't take crap but kept it fair. You do your job, she's cool. Mess around, she'll run you out before your shift ends. I drove deliveries. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid a little more than working the ovens. Most nights were chill, college kids high off their asses, soccer moms with 4 screaming kids in the background, retired dudes in slippers and robes. You start learning routines, reading the neighborhoods, and Crestwood, the area we covered, wasn't exactly sketchy. No boarded-up windows or barred doors. It was safe enough. Clean curbs, porch swings, those little ceramic frogs with welcome signs. We had rules, though. Lisa drilled them in on day 1. Never go inside a customer's house. Always trust your gut. And if something doesn't feel right, leave. Don't worry about the damn pizza, don't worry about the tip, just go. And always, always keep the insulated bag between you and them. Like a buffer. It sounded dramatic at first, but I didn't question it. I'd seen weird stuff already. Guys answering the door shirtless and too friendly. Kids trying to prank you with fake money. One lady who made me sing happy birthday to her cat. Nothing dangerous, just awkward. But that night was different. And it started like any other. It was a Thursday. Cold. The kind of cold that slipped under your jacket and curled into your bones. A low fog had settled along the sidewalks, curling like smoke around the bases of trees and fences. My beat-up Corolla, affectionately nicknamed Cricket, because it chirped whenever I hit a bump, was coughing down Willow Street while my radio flipped between static and some slow R&B track I couldn't name. The order came in around 8:15. 2 large meat lovers, extra sauce, cash, no delivery notes. The address, 817 Willow Creek Lane, didn't ring any bells. But with all the new developments going up around Crestwood, that wasn't unusual. They all looked the same. Tan siding, pebble mulch, tiny trees staked up like scarecrows in manicured lawns. Cookie-cutter suburbia. Sterile. Unremarkable. Easy to forget. Easy to disappear in. I punched the address into my phone. 15 minutes, give or take. I remember feeling tired. Not exhausted. Just that low buzz behind your eyes after a long day of doing the same thing over and over. I clipped my name tag back on, tucked my ponytail through the back of my cap and grabbed the pizzas. The smell filled the car instantly. Greasy, cheesy warmth. Comfort food for someone I'd never meet. Driving through Crestwood at night feels like moving through a diorama. Everything's quiet. Perfect. Too perfect. Lights inside homes flickering behind blinds. Blue TV glows. Front porches lit up just enough to see the swing or the holiday wreath still hanging out of season. But the further I drove, the darker it got. Willow Creek Lane was tucked behind a newer development. The kind of place that hadn't quite settled in yet. No kids' bikes strewn on lawns. No dog walkers or porch sitters. Just empty houses in rows. And at the very end, 817. At first glance, it didn't look like much. Beige 2-story, brown shutters, a white SUV in the driveway coated with a thin layer of dust, like it hadn't been moved in weeks. No lights inside, no glow from a TV, nothing. I parked at the curb, engine idling for a second while I stared up at the house. Something about it made my skin crawl. Not fear, exactly. More like an itch I couldn't scratch, like walking into a room and knowing someone had just been there. I shut off the car, grabbed the pizza bag, and made my way up the path. The porch creaked under my sneakers. I rang the bell. The chime echoed longer than it should have, like it had room to stretch out inside. A sound that should have bounced off close walls instead kept ringing into something bigger, something too empty. No answer. I shifted the pizzas in my arms, their heat bleeding through the sleeves of my jacket. I rang again. The porch light flickered. Once. Twice. Then dimmed. The door creaked open an inch. A hand appeared, pale, thin. The skin looked soft in that unhealthy way, translucent almost, like stretched wax. The fingers were curled around the edge of the door, knuckles poking through too sharply. He didn't speak at first, then flatly, "Come inside." I blinked. "Sorry, policy says I can't." Gotta hand it off at the door. No reply. "Cash or card?" I asked, trying to sound casual. The hand twitched, then lunged. He grabbed my wrist. Not rough, not like he was angry, more like he was trying to plug something in. Deliberate, methodical. I felt the pressure in my joints immediately, like something trying to snap me open, one bone at a time. I reacted without thinking, twisted hard like Lisa showed us during that half-joke self-defense session months ago. Thumb joint spin, break the grip. I yanked my arm back. My other hand nearly dropped the pizzas. His grip didn't loosen because I overpowered him. He let go because he wanted to. I stumbled back, breath short, heart hammering. "I'm leaving," I said, loud enough to hear my own voice crack. "The pizzas are staying. I'm calling the cops." He didn't move, didn't speak. Then calmly he shut the door. Just like that. Soft, like tucking something away. I ran, keys shaking in my hands. Twice I fumbled them. Finally got inside, locked the door, engine roaring to life. My first call was to Lisa, my second, to 911. The dispatcher stayed calm, talked me through the panic while I sat in the car staring at the house. My wrist burned where he grabbed me, a dull, blooming ache. A squad car pulled up 10 minutes later. The flashing lights looked absurd against the perfect neighborhood. I gave my statement. They took the pizzas as evidence, said I did the right thing. Then one of the officers, older, tired-looking, the kind of guy who's seen enough, leaned in and said something I'll never forget. "You're not the first. 2 drivers before me had delivered to that address. One vanished. The other turned up in the woods days later, bruised, dehydrated. No memory of what happened. My stomach bottomed out. Later I found out his name, Daniel Crowley, 42. Lived alone. No criminal record, no priors. Just a quiet man in a quiet house no one looked at twice. But they found a journal inside. Maps, notes, logs of deliveries. My name was there, underlined, starred. Page 34. I wasn't just unlucky. I was chosen. Sometimes when I'm sitting outside a house waiting for someone to come to the door, I think about that night, the flickering light, the silence, that hand, and I wonder, what if I hadn't pulled away fast enough? What if I'd hesitated? What if I'd stepped inside? Because monsters aren't just in forests. They live on your street. They wave at their neighbors, and they don't growl. They whisper. Come inside. What would you do if someone politely asked you to step into darkness? People say the scariest stories are the ones that feel like they could happen to anyone. Not the kind with ghosts jumping out of closets or masked killers chasing teens through the woods. I'm talking about the quiet, slow-burning kind. The kind that starts with something as simple as a shift at work and ends with you questioning if you were ever really alone in your skin to begin with. My name's Evan Miller. I'm 24, been out of college for nearly 2 years, though out is a generous term. I dropped out, packed up my dorm at Kent State, and drove back to the only place I swore I'd never return to, Brookfield, Ohio. It's a town that lives somewhere between forgotten and fading. We've got a Walmart, a few bars that survive on old men and cheap beer, and a Pizza Hut I've been working night shifts at since spring. Not the worst job in the world, not the best either. I never thought a Thursday night delivery would turn into the longest, coldest stretch of my life. But that's the thing about places like Brookfield. Underneath the peeling paint and potholed roads, there are stories people don't tell out loud. Not because they're lies, but because they might be true. I remember that night in full color, like my brain decided to keep it on file in high definition. It was late October, the kind of cold that sneaks up under your clothes and sets into your bones. Everything felt off. The air, the quiet in the store, even the fog rolling in like it had something to say. We were an hour out from closing. I was killing time in the back room scrolling Instagram, trying not to think about how many bills I had piling up in my glove box. Rick Carson, my manager, hunched over the register like always. He was the kind of guy who looked like life had chewed him up and spit him out 10 years ago. Balding, sour-faced, and always sipping from that same cracked coffee mug. No music, no small talk. Just the sound of a calculator clicking and the hum of the fryers. "Evan," Rick called without looking up. "Feel like taking a long one tonight?" I sighed. "How long we talking?" He slid a receipt across the counter like a blackjack dealer tossing a bad hand. "Out past Waverly Road, 4 large pies, prepaid, decent tip." "Waverly?" I raised an eyebrow. "Ain't nothing out there but cows and brush." Rick shrugged. "Some deer camp, maybe. Just drop it off. Call it a night." The name stuck in my brain like a splinter. Waverly Road. I'd heard that name before, but I couldn't remember where. I stared at the receipt. 38 Sycamore Lane, scribbled in Sharpie on the back like an afterthought. My gut itched a little, the way it does when you've forgotten something important. Still, tips were tips. I grabbed the heat bag, zipped up my hoodie, and stepped out into the night. Out back by the dumpster, Marissa was on her smoke break. She leaned against the brick wall like she always did, hoodie pulled up, cigarette glowing between her fingers. She squinted at the pizza bag. "Late run?" she asked. "Yeah, Waverly Road." Her face dropped. "Seriously?" I paused. "Yeah, why?" She took a drag, flicked ash onto the asphalt. "My cousin's friend went missing out there a couple years ago. Truck was still running when they found it. Doors wide open, keys in the ignition." My fingers tightened around the bag's strap. "You never mentioned that before." "Didn't think you'd be stupid enough to take a run that far." She stepped forward, her voice lower now. "Just text me when you're done, okay?" "Sure," I said with a half smile, trying to shake the chill that had started worming up my spine. "No big deal. Probably just some hunters drunk off their asses." She didn't laugh. I climbed into my silver Civic, beat to hell but still running, and tossed the bag in the passenger seat. The engine groaned to life, headlights cutting through the thickening fog like wet gauze. A classic rock station crackled on the radio as I pulled onto the road. Brookfield fell away fast. Just empty roads, glowing porch lights, and the occasional mailbox buried in the dark. 20 minutes later, I turned off onto Waverly. My phone buzzed once and died. No bars, no GPS. Nothing but me, the fog, and 4 pizzas heading into the woods. The gravel road narrowed quick. Trees pressed in close, their limbs clawing at the roof of my car. My tires crunched like breaking bones. There weren't any house numbers, just a leaning post buried in weeds, barely legible. Sycamore Lane. I almost turned around, but I didn't. The dirt road wound through thick forest barely wider than my Civic. After 10 minutes of slow, nerve-wracking driving, the trees opened into a clearing. That's when I saw it. The house. 2 stories. Rotten wood. Shutters hanging like broken arms. No lights. No cars. It looked like it had been dropped here and forgotten by time. I stopped about 20 yards out. Kept the engine running, just in case. I stepped out into the cold. It hit me like a slap. Wet, sharp, and heavy with something I couldn't name. The grass crackled under my boots. A coyote howled in the distance, and I realized, for the first time, I was holding my breath. The porch groaned under my weight. I reached for the old brass knocker, green with rust, and banged 3 times. Pizza Hut delivery. No answer. I knocked again, harder. Hello? Silence. I pulled out my phone. Dead screen. No signal. One more try. I raised my voice. Hey, your order's here. That's when I heard it. A slow dragging sound from inside the house, like something heavy being pulled across the floor. No footsteps, no voices, just that one sound, steady, deliberate, and way too close. I froze, and that's when I remembered Sheriff Connors. Months ago, behind the gas station, he caught me and Marissa sneaking a smoke. He leaned in and said, dead serious, "If you ever end up out by Waverly, don't stop. Hell, don't even slow down." Now I understood why. The dragging was still going. I backed off the porch, walked quickly to the car, hands shaking, started the engine. Only it was already running. But the dashboard lights, dead. So were the headlights, and I swear to God, something was standing in the road behind me. Absolutely, Marcus. Here's the continuation of Long Night on Sycamore Lane. The next 4 chapters, each unfolding with immersive realism, psychological tension, and haunting atmosphere. This brings the full story closer to the requested word count and structure. I didn't move. The shape behind me didn't either. I could just barely see it in the rearview mirror. A dark silhouette at the edge of the clearing, near where the tree line began again. It wasn't close enough to see detail, but it was definitely there, standing completely still. Every part of me wanted to throw the car into reverse and peel out. But the lights were dead. So was the dash. And even though the engine hummed softly beneath me, pressing the gas didn't do anything. It was like the car was alive but paralyzed. I reached for my phone again. Still dead. No signal, no GPS, no clock, nothing. A loud thump hit the roof of the car. I ducked instinctively, heart slamming into my throat. I stared at the ceiling, not breathing. Another thump, this time heavier, closer to the windshield. Then nothing. I counted 5 seconds. 10, 15. I opened the door slowly. Cold air rushed in. I stepped out, hands shaking, eyes locked on the roof of the Civic. Nothing was there. I looked back toward the trees. The shape was gone. I swallowed hard. My mouth was dry. I backed away slowly toward the porch, pizza bag still in my hand, like it might somehow be a shield against whatever the hell this was. I didn't know what I was doing. Maybe I thought if I just delivered the pizzas, I could break whatever weird spell I was under. Just knock, drop, and go. So I went back to the door. I didn't knock this time. I pushed. It creaked open an inch, then another. A long groan of wood and rusted hinges. It was darker than I thought possible inside, like the shadows had weight. The smell hit me first. Old wood, damp rot, and something else, like copper and mildew. I stepped inside. My boots clicked softly on the warped floorboards. I called out again, quieter now. Hello? The dragging sound was gone. The silence was worse. I moved through the entryway, slowly, the flashlight on my keychain barely cutting through the dark. Dust swirled in the beam, thick like smoke. There was furniture, but all covered in white sheets, yellowed with age and sagging in places like something had been lying on top of them. A fireplace sat black and cold on the far wall. Family photos lined the mantel, but every single face had been scratched out. deep, angry gouges through every set of eyes and mouths. Something skittered across the ceiling above me. I jumped, swung the light upward, but saw only beams and sagging wood. I tried to laugh at myself, tried to think of what I'd say to Marissa when I got back. That's when I noticed the footprints. Not mine. Dust covered the floor in every direction, except for a trail of footprints leading away from the foyer. Barefoot, too big to be a child, too narrow to be an adult man. They went toward a hallway and vanished around the corner. I didn't want to follow them, but my feet were already moving. The hallway felt too long, like the walls were stretching. My light dimmed, flickering. I passed 2 closed doors, both warped and splintering. The third door at the end was open, just a crack. A pale blue glow flickered inside. I crept closer. My hand pushed the door gently. Inside was a bedroom. Old, untouched for years. A floral bedspread, moth-eaten and torn, was pulled tight over a small twin mattress. A vanity sat in the corner, the mirror fogged with dust. On the wall opposite me, an old tube TV crackled with static. I stepped inside. The footprints ended here. And in the corner beside the vanity, something moved. I froze. A figure sat there, curled, legs pulled to the chest, long black hair hiding the face. My voice caught. "Hey, I brought your pizza." The figure didn't move. I took a step forward. "Are you okay?" The head lifted, just slightly. Then the voice came, soft, deliberate, dry. "He always brings the wrong one." I blinked. "What?" A pause. Then, "He never remembers what I like. He always brings the wrong one." My legs wanted to run. My brain wanted to scream. I set the pizza bag down slowly. "Okay. I'll just leave it here, all right?" She started humming. A low, tuneless hum. Childlike. Off-key. I backed away from the room, never turning my back. Then she said it again, but louder. "He always brings the wrong one." I ran. I reached the foyer in what felt like a single step. My chest burned. My hands fumbled for the door. But it was closed and locked. I hadn't locked it. I twisted the handle, banged against the wood. Nothing. I turned around to look for a window. That's when I saw them. The same footprints, only now they were coming down the stairs. Fresh ones, right there, appearing one by one in the dust, but no one was there. Then the dragging started again, louder, closer, just behind the wall to my right. I snapped. I ran to the window and smashed it with my elbow. Glass sliced my arm. I didn't care. I climbed out, hit the frozen grass, and ran to my car. The Civic's lights flickered back on. Engine still running. I got in, slammed the door, floored the gas. And this time, it moved. I didn't stop driving until I saw the first street light, then another. I pulled into the Pizza Hut lot, hands shaking so hard I could barely turn the key off. Marissa was still out back, same cigarette, same spot. She saw me and stepped forward. "Jesus, Evan, what happened?" I couldn't speak. She opened the door, looked inside. "Where's the pizza?" I stared straight ahead. I delivered it." She waited. Then, "You didn't go inside, did you?" I nodded. She exhaled slowly. "Evan, you weren't supposed to go in." I didn't have a choice. We stood there in silence, the early morning frost beginning to creep up the windshield. I never talked about that night again. Not to her, not to Rick, not to anyone. But I dream about it, every few weeks. Always the same. The footprints, the dragging, the voice. He always brings the wrong one. I tried going back once during the day. Thought maybe I could find the house again. I couldn't. Sycamore Lane was gone. No post, no trail, no house, just trees. So now I'm asking you because maybe I need to know I'm not crazy. Have you ever seen something that shouldn't exist? Ever opened a door you wished you hadn't? Think about it. Would you have walked inside that house? Or would you have left those pizzas on the porch and never looked back?